The sit-in protests remain largely peaceful, and their message is clear. The Sudanese people do not want to be ruled by the military chiefs who ended the 30-year regime of President Omar al-Bashir. But the army is still very much in charge here, even though Bashir's immediate successor, Awad Ibn Auf, a general linked to the genocide in Darfur, lasted just one day in the top job.
I announce that I am stepping down as the leader of the Transitional Military Council. I am selecting instead someone whose expertise and competence I can trust. He will take the ship to the shores of safety. I have chosen Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah Burhan Abdul Rahman to succeed me as President of the Military Council.
So one army commander has replaced himself with another. On the plus side, the new chief Burhan is not wanted for war crimes. But the protesters want a clean break and reject outright the military's plans to rule the country for 2 years before calling elections.
For us, this is no change. Our revolution is continuing. Change is still coming, and it will be much better. We won't have any supporters of the regime among us, only the Sudanese people.
We don't want regime supporters at all. We are free revolutionaries continuing on our course. The regime must fall.
The international community is calling on all sides to show restraint.
What is very important that now in the present very fluid situation that the human rights are observed and the right of assembly, and we have to come to a credible and inclusive political process that will lead to the transition that we all want.
Despite placing him under arrest, the military says it won't hand over former President Omar al-Bashir to the International Criminal Court for his role in the Darfur killings. The people are pleased to see the back of their old ruler, but the protesters have vowed to stay on the streets until a civilian, not military, transitional council is in place.
All right, joining me to talk about this some more is DW's Nada Al-Saras. Nada, thanks for joining us. The Defence Minister abruptly stepped down, but he's now been replaced by another military man. Now, this isn't the kind of democracy that the protesters are calling for, is it?
Not exactly. The protesters want actually a civilian-led transitional government. They want the military to hand over the power to this transitional government, but they are willing, as I understand now, maybe to give this new man, Abdel Fattah Burhan, a chance. There should be today, I guess, a meeting between the leading groups of the opposition and the protesters and the new head of the military council, Burhan. We still don't know what will come out of this meeting. I think he might be a good compromise for the opposition. He's not being indicted by the International Criminal Court. We know that Omar al-Bashir is being accused of committing war crimes and genocide in the western region of Darfur in the 2000s, and he's being indicted by the ICC and also the former head of the military council who stepped down yesterday, Ibn Auf. This is a reason which is crucial for the protesters, but it's not the only one. The main thing they want is that the figures of the ancien regime, the old regime, go away, step down, and path the way for a civilian transitional government.
So it sounds like you're saying it's a good compromise. It's a step in the right direction. Presumably, there wouldn't be any chance right now that the military would just happily hand over power to civilian government. Is that unrealistic?
It's quite unrealistic. I don't think that they will just hand the power tomorrow to the civilian government.
Despite the protests?
Despite the protests. I think they will kind of agree upon a transitional period which will not take 2 years as the military council proposed yesterday or the day before yesterday. I think they will try to shorten this transitional period and give the power more swiftly to civilians and to experts and technocrats.
Let's talk a little bit more about the protesters. Who are they and what's uniting them now that Bashir has stepped down? or has gone, rather?
What's still uniting them is they want to get rid of the figures of the old regime, as I said, and they're basically civilians from all walks of life, many young people, as we see in the report. And there's a very crucial role for the Association of Sudanese Professionals, who has been leading the protests since last December 2018, and also opposition groups and union trades and civilian organizations who have been actually for 30 years under the Bashir regime have been suppressed, and there has been a very massive crackdown on them for all that time.
Okay. So DW's Nada Al-Saras, thanks so much.